I would like to call the Finance, Ways and Means Committee to order for March 4th, 2026. Will Ms. Clerk, will you please open the board for a roll call vote? Members, please make sure you're signed in. Madam Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mr. Chairman, you have 11 members present. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Do the members have any announcements or personal orders before we get started today? Seeing none, obviously we have full house today. I do want to make sure that we understand the rules. This is the Finance Subcommittee. We're here to discuss the finance components of a bill, not the policy-related ones that sent the bills here. So hopefully we'll keep our comments to the issues surrounding finance of the bills. If you have any questions, we're happy to do that. As people follow along online and here in the room, as we do adopt amendments, it will occasionally change the fiscal note of a bill. And so we are going to maintain the quorum in this room today. If we have to take a recess and you be escorted out by Sergeant Arms, we'll do that. So I expect that all the members participating today will respect the process and the members of this body. Thank you. With that being said, item number 1 on the calendar, House Bill 2510 by Chairman Darby. Chairman Darby, we have a motion and second on the bill. Chairman Darby, you're recognized on House Bill 2510.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill extends the existing law to provide long-term stability and predictability in counties that depends on retaining the sales and tax generated from commercial developments.
Thank you, Chairman Darby. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none. This bill does have a fiscal impact, so without objection, House Bill 2510 will go behind the budget. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
Committee.
Item number 2 on your calendar, House Bill 2511 by Representative Garrett. We have a motion second on the bill. Representative Garrett, you do have an amendment that's timely filed with the committee, drafting code 013667. We have a motion second on that bill. For the purpose of discussion, we will put that bill on. All those in favor of drafting code 013667, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Amendment drafting code 13667 is on the bill. Representative Garrett, you're recognized on House Bill 2511 as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, committee, I'm carrying this bill for Speaker Cameron Sexton. It's a bill that works alongside House Bill 2507. It strengthens our state's regional and metropolitan airports and focuses on Tennessee's success, safety, and security of our airports. Under current law, a funding authority must establish the work with the creation of the statewide airport authority. This legislation just creates the mechanism for that funding where they can issue bonds, et cetera, which is typical of an airport authority. So that's what this piece of legislation does. Mr. Chairman, the committee, I'll be happy to address any questions the committee may have. Otherwise,
thank you. Thank you, Representative Garrett. Any questions for Representative Garrett? Seeing none, are we ready to vote? Will the clerk please open? Representative Parkins, you're recognized.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And we're setting up a funding board to create a statewide airport authority.
Chairman.
Yes, that's what the bill HB 2507. That's why it goes along with that piece of legislation, which I'm not sure if it'll come through here, but that piece of legislation is traveling through the system.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any further questions? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please open the board for a vote. Those in favor of House Bill 2511, vote aye. Those opposed, vote no. Has everyone voted? Would anyone like to change their vote? Seeing none, hearing none, Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Chairman, you have 11 ayes, 0 noes.
The ayes do have it. House Bill 2511 moves full finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative. Item number 3 on your calendar, Speaker Marsh. There he is. Item 3 on your calendar, House Bill 2138 by Speaker Pro Tem Marsh. We have a motion and second on the bill. Any discussion from the members before Speaker Marsh, I think you do have some folks here to testify today. Would you like to go ahead and do that first?
I would.
Okay, thank you. So without objection, we will have outside testimony from Mike Fisher, Phil Fulmer, John Ed Powers, and Blake Parson. So if they'll be making their way. Speaker Marsh, if you will, as they make their way, Speaker Marsh, will you just go ahead, since we're going to wait on them to join the room, if you'll go ahead and tell the members what the bill does.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The goal of this legislation basically is to provide TWRA with additional funding, long-term funding, We had several mandates on them to give raises, and they did out of their balances. They don't take any money from the state. They don't get any funding from the state. It's all license-generated fishing and hunting license. And we had a lot of lifetime license. My sons we have 7 grandkids, and every one of them bought a lifetime sportsman's license when they were born for like 200 or 300. So we're missing a lot of that revenue. We've got to come up with different ways to fund TWRA, and that's what this bill does. And we've got some expert witnesses here. They're going to help us out.
Thank you, Speaker Marsh. Any questions? Seeing none, we're going to go out of session, hear from our guests here quickly. So without objection, we're going out of session. I do have first on my list is Mr. Mike Fisher. Mr. Mike Fisher, if you will, state your name for the record. Microphone will turn on, and you have 3 minutes.
Yeah, my name is Mike Fisher. I spent years playing here for the Nashville Predators. It's an honor to call Tennessee my home. I raised my family here. This bill is very important to me. Hunting and fishing is part of a lifestyle for my family. I have 2 young boys, and some of my greatest memories are taking them hunting and fishing, time in the deer blind, duck blind, turkey blind, and trying to teach them to respect the outdoors, trying to teach them a love for the Lord and the creation outside. That's very important to me. TWRA's mission touches all of us. It's very important. It helps with wildlife, fisheries, boating, lakes. They do a tremendous job. And I think in today's culture, with our phones, with gaming, with AI, all these distractions that is going on, we need more outdoors. And that's why I'm here. I'm passionate about this. We need to get on board with TWRA. We need to help them. We need kids outside. I grew up in Ontario, and they don't do a good job of helping to get kids outside. TWRA is very important to me. This bill, it doesn't affect taxes. Portion of TVA goes to help their fund so they can do projects, so they can help, so we can get more kids, more people outside. Depression, anxiety, suicide, unfortunately, is going up. And I think one of the antidotes is getting outside and spending money. This is an investment, and I think it is critical, especially in today's world. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. It's an honor, and God bless you all.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. We'll hear from all of our guests first, and then we'll open for questions at the end. So next on my list, I have Mr. Philip Fulmer. Mr. Philip Fulmer, you're recognized. If you will, please state your name for the record, and you begin 3 minutes.
Philip Fulmer, Chairman, thank you for this time and committee. When I think about Tennessee, I think about tradition. I think about pride. I think about responsibility that we carry to protect what makes our great state special. In football, you don't build a championship program one season at a time. You build it with vision and discipline, with commitment to something that lasts long beyond you. Conservation is no different. For decades, hunters and anglers have carried the load in funding wildlife conservation through licensing fee. And they've done it proudly, but Tennessee has grown. Our rivers are busier. Our access areas are fuller. More families are enjoying the outdoors than ever before. And that's a good thing. I personally love being in the woods or the water with my children and grandchildren. We cannot expect a percentage of users to continue funding something that benefits all of the state of Tennessee. The men and the women of the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency protect more than wildlife. They protect public safety. They respond to emergency. They preserve clean air, healthy forest, and the outdoor heritage that defines our state. You can manage that responsibility. You cannot manage that responsibility on unstable funding. You can't plan long-term success with short-term resources. This is about stewardship, it's about accountability, and it's about fairness. Every Tennessean benefits from strong wildlife resources, from economic growth to the simple joy of taking your kids fishing on a Sunday morning. That means every Tennessean has a stake in sustaining it. Leadership is measured by what you leave behind, and once habitat is lost, it rarely comes back. This is about protecting Tennessee's legacy. It's about making sure that when the next generation walks into the woods or steps onto the water, what they find is just as great and beautiful as what they were given. Tennessee has never been afraid of doing the hard work to protect what matters. Now it's our turn. Please vote yes on House HH 2138.
Thank you, Coach Farmer. Next on the list, I have John Ed Powers of Final Flight Outfitters. Just state your name for the record, and your 3 minutes begin.
Hello, everyone. My name's John Ed Powers. I'm from Union City, Tennessee, there in Nobian County in the northwest portion of the state. My brothers and I, Tripp and Kelly, we own a sporting goods store there, have about a 30,000 square foot sporting goods store. We also farm about 4,000 acres there as well. Echoing what Mike and Coach both said, the outdoor space it just means so much to our family. I mean, I grew up with my kids hunting, myself hunting, but, for a long time hunting there, the Wildlife Agency was always funded, 100% and always has been 100% by license sales. And that's a good thing because then us hunters had a good voice and all. But we've kind of gotten to the point now with increases in, expenses, and we farm. So I know how that goes. And then, other state mandates of certain things of, hey, you don't need to do it this way or whatever. We're at that point, I think, that some funding is going to need to be done. And I'm glad that y'all are looking at this. I'm not 100% for a 100% controlled wildlife agency by the state. I'm not. I think it's a good thing that the hunters and us fishermen have a voice in that. But I just think that we're at a point in this right now. I know it's a big deal for us with our store. We're in a county in Obion County that's actually 26 in the state in tourism dollars. I'm actually on our tourism board. And so that outdoor space is a big deal. Our county's 30,000 people. So for the outdoor industry and all is a major part of our local tourism. So without these lands being managed to their fullest extent, we're going to miss out, and we're not going to generate as much sales tax dollars as we do locally and into the state. So really appreciate that y'all are actually looking at this and hope to see it pass.
Thank you very much. And finally, Blake Parson with Fly South.
Hi, my name is Blake Parsons. I own Fly South, fly fishing outfitter, and small business here in Nashville. Tennessee's natural resources are one of our greatest assets in Tennessee. Trout streams in the Smokies, warm water streams here in Middle Tennessee, and lakes, rivers that anchor rural communities all over the state. Our outdoors are central to who we are and vital to Tennessee's economic strength. At Fly South, we see that impact every day. We have customers that travel from all over the state in the Southeast to fish with us in our waters. Families plan vacations around rivers, lakes, and our public lands. New residents cite access to the outdoors as a reason they chose to move to Tennessee. Outdoor recreation is not a niche interest. It is a major economic driver that supports thousands of jobs in retail, hospitality, tourism, and guide businesses. The Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency is the engine that keeps this system running. Its staff manage fisheries and wildlife populations, maintain our public lands and our access points, and they enforce regulations to ensure its fair use. They protect the long-term health of the resources that underpin this economic activity. Yet TWRA does not receive consistent, dedicated funding through the state budget. This structure leaves a core public service operating with financial uncertainty year to year. That uncertainty has real consequences. Long-term habitat projects become harder to plan. Investments in access, research, and enforcement are delayed or scaled back. As Tennessee grows and outdoor use increases, the demands on TWRA expand while its funding remains unstable. Providing dedicated annual funding in the state budget would correct this imbalance. Stable funding would allow TWRA to plan strategically over decades rather than seasons, and it would help retain experienced biologists, conservation professionals, and game wardens who are essential to managing complex ecosystems and growing public use. From an economic perspective, this is a high return investment. Outdoor recreation contributes billions of dollars annually to Tennessee's economy and supports tens of thousands of jobs across urban and rural communities alike. Healthy fisheries, abundant wildlife, and well-managed lands are the foundation of that activity. When those resources decline, the economic ripple effects are immediate. There are fewer visitors, there's reduced spending in stores like mine, and lost opportunity for small businesses like mine. Conversely, well-funded conservation produces durable returns. Strong fisheries attract tourism and generate retail spending and revenue for guides. Proactive habitat management reduces long-term costs and wildlife population impacts associated with flooding, erosion, and environmental degradation. Just as we invest in roads, schools, utilities because they enable economic growth, we should invest in the agency responsible for stewarding the natural systems that power a significant portion of Tennessee's economy. Tennessee is a moment of opportunity. Growth has brought new residents, new businesses, new demands on our land and water. With that growth comes responsibility. By committing to annual dedicated funding for the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency, the General Assembly can ensure that our natural resources remain productive, accessible, and resilient. It's a fiscally sound decision that safeguards economic vitality today while preserving Tennessee's outdoor heritage for generations to come. This is an investment worthy of the state. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Parson. Do we have, that's all the testimony we have today. Do we have any questions for our guests? I do have on my list, Speaker Zachary, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to each of you for coming this afternoon, this morning. John and Blake, thank you for taking the time away for as business owners to come here and advocate. And then specifically, Mr. Fisher and Coach, it would be very easy for both of you to enjoy your retirement and to ride off into the sunset. But it takes a leader to continue to advocate and be engaged. And so, Mike, thank you for doing that. Coach, since your second retirement as AD, you've been a consistent presence here. So thank you for advocating for such important issues. And again, it takes real leaders to do that. So thank you for leading on these issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Zachary. Next on my list is Representative Parkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you all for all that you do. I appreciate your testimony. Mr. Chair, I'm actually wanted to, you probably ruled me out of order. You hadn't this year anyway, but it's our chairman's birthday. So I did want to recognize our chairman, Jesse Chisholm, and say happy birthday to him. So.
Happy birthday. Out of order. No, the happy birthday. Representative Parkinson, anything else?
No, that's
okay, thank you. Next on our list, Representative Shaw, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all for being here, and thank you for what you do. Now, I just want to understand, you all are asking for a portion of the taxes that you collect, or are you asking for an appropriation above what you get?
Marshall's got one more, and then you're.
If you want, but it's from dollars that actually come from TVA and appropriated to the general fund, not to any other fund that affect anything else.
So that would be correct that you are asking for dollars that you receive, that you go back to general fund. You'd like to keep a few more of those dollars.
That's correct.
In order to, I see what you're saying. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Representative Shaw. I see no other persons on my list. I would be remiss if I didn't say thank you for coming today. Speaker Zachary's words are very kind. I as a user of the Caney Fork River by way of Fly South a lot, it's incumbent upon us to make sure that we do protect our waterways and make sure that our kids, I can't make my kids fly fish, but they still like to get on the water and fish like regular folk. But really appreciate you coming today and your testimony. And with that being said, we're going to go back into session. Thank you for your time. You're welcome to sit or you can leave, either one. I do have on my list for Speaker Marsh. Speaker Marsh, leader, Representative Gant, you're next on my list.
Thank you, Chairman. And Speaker Marsh, thank you for bringing this legislation and sponsoring this legislation. I'm happy to co-sponsor this with you. And our good friend, Bill Dance, is also very supportive and could not be here today and wanted me to speak on his behalf and let everybody know the importance that this is for him to see come to fruition. And as many mentioned on the panel, it is an investment in the next generation and generation after that we invest in the outdoors here in Tennessee and provide many opportunities for young kids to get involved in the outdoors, whether it be a fishing rodeo, anything that keeps them out of trouble, getting hooked on drugs. My kids got hooked on fishing at a very early age. I got hooked on fishing and hunting at a very early age. And so I think it's a wise investment on our part to invest in TWRA and put these recurring dollars in place that can be used to do just that. And that's invest in making the quality of our outdoors the best and also in our youth as well. So, Mr. Chairman, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Gant. Next on my list, Representative Chisholm, birthday boy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Speaker, I just want to tell you thank you for bringing this legislation. As a person that holds a sportsman's license, I got a chance to realize that no matter whether you're urban or rural, having access to the outdoor resources is such an important thing for everyone in the state, whether they know it or not. And we've talked a lot about having a funding source so they'll be sustainable. So thank you again for bringing this legislation.
Thank you. Any other questions for Speaker Marsh? Speaker Marsh, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And first off, Jesse, happy birthday. And he is a great outdoorsman, and I've been with him on several occasions. I don't know if you all know this, but the TWRA has 750 employees. They manage 1.6 million acres of public land. They issue 10,000 boater safety certificates. They issue 8,500 hunter safety certificates. They manage 21 gun ranges, and they take care of all of our hunting and fishing across the state, which I too agree is super important. And they get their funding from fishing and hunting license, which is not enough to take care of it. They also manage several TVA projects, boat ramps, lakes, and all that for TVA. So it just makes sense for me that TVA a portion of their taxes should go to take care of TWRA because of their management skills. With that, I'll answer any questions or look for a positive recommendation.
Thank you. Positive recommendations are hard to find with the $18 million fiscal note, but you do, Speaker Marshall, you do say that very eloquently. We are very passionate about our lakes and streams and the heritage that is hunting and fishing in this state. And so without any objection, we're going to send House Bill 1238 behind the budget. Item number 4 on your calendar, also by Speaker Marsh, House Bill 1515. I have a motion and I'll second it. Speaker Marsh, you do have an amendment that you'd like to put on, drafting code 013968. Is that correct?
Correct.
We have a motion and second on the amendment. All those in favor of amendment drafting code 013968, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, the ayes have it. House Bill or Amendment Drafting Code 013968 is on House Bill 1515. Speaker Marsh, you are recognized on the bill as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill is brought to me by our beloved comptroller. This bill makes government work better by ensuring that all transportation companies with a presence in Tennessee are assessed by the Comptroller's Office of State Assessed Properties. What we're doing here is Comptroller assesses 18 types of public utility transportation companies with a presence in the state of Tennessee, including airlines, motor carriers, railroads, wireless management, and as I said, trucking and waterways. They figure out a way to tax all of the transportation companies. What we're doing here is adding a new amendment to the bill, which adds subsurface passenger transit companies to the list of properties assessed. The Boring Company is now in the process, hopefully soon, of digging a tunnel to the airport to various places in Nashville. There needs to be a way for the comptroller and the Metro Nashville to get some tax money off of this. With this bill, we're allowing the comptroller to do that assessment. All funds assessed will go to the Metro Nashville. The comptroller's office gets no funds. So with that, I'll answer any questions.
Thank you, Speaker Marsh. Any questions for Speaker Marsh? Seeing none, are the members ready to vote? Will the Madam Clerk, we please open the board for a vote? All those in favor of House Bill 1515, moving to full finance, please vote aye. Those opposed, vote no. Would anyone like to change their vote? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, we please call the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 9 ayes, 0 noes.
The ayes do have it. House Bill 1515 moves to full finance.
Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker Marsh. Just to clarify, to those that are in attendance today, hissing like a cat will get you thrown out of this committee and be escorted by the Sergeant of Arms. So we are going to maintain decorum in here today. Item number 5 on your calendar, House Bill 793 by Leader Lamberth. We have a motion and second on the bill. Leader Lamberth, you do have an amendment that you filed with the committee, drafting code 013823. We have a motion and second on the amendment. All those in favor of amendment drafting code 013823, say aye. All those opposed, the amendment goes on the bill. We are now on House Bill 793. Leader Lambert, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, and thank you for adopting the amendment which makes the bill now. So when we began this journey, this bill was both a data bill and would give every single local jurisdiction, every school board, the authority to charge tuition to a student that is illegally present in the United States. And if that student's family did not pay that tuition, then each school board had the opportunity to decide whether to disenroll that child. The second two aspects of that have now been removed from this bill. And the only part that is remaining in this amendment is literally a data portion where every school will request that information as they do now. And when folks enroll, they give their information, their residency, their identity, that type of thing, and then report back to us, specifically the Department of Education, on how many students are in our schools that are illegally present in the United States. And then we can take whatever action down the road that this body would choose to take. The primary reason why I've asked you to amend this bill is that the original fiscal note on this bill had a potential loss of education funding from the federal government of $1.1 billion. After this budget, if it were to pass, we invest approximately $9.5 billion a year in K through 12 public education. That is money well spent on the education of our children here in Tennessee. We've added about $4.4 billion over the last decade. There's no way that I want to bring a bill forward that would endanger $1.1 billion while we are trying to add additional funds in for K through 12 public education. So if you look at the new fiscal note that is on the amendment, it is not significant, because simply asking that question and collecting that data would not endanger federal funds. With that, Mr. Chairman, I stand ready for questions.
Thank you, Leader Lamberth. Any questions for Leader Lamberth? We do have some folks here to testify or signed up to testify. I do have Speaker Zachary on the list. Speaker Zachary, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Leader, thank you for bringing the bill. We cannot make, as legislators, we cannot make informed decisions without data. And right now, we simply do not know what the attendance is in our school systems across the state regarding children who are here illegally. And according to FAIR, it costs taxpayers in Tennessee $571 million a year, but that is just a guess. So this is a common sense approach. It is a measured approach based on where we started to where we're going now, not risking those funds. So thank you for bringing the bill. So again, we will have data to be able to make better decisions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman Hicks, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Leader Lambert, thank you for this piece of legislation. So just to be clear, so now as amended, this bill is simply a reporting requirement to the school systems, correct?
Leader Lambert.
Yes, that is correct. And I do want to thank the Trump administration for having a robust back and forth with us over the last roughly 10 months. We've sent several questions to them to try to get answered a very straightforward question. Would the bill in the previous form endanger $1.1 billion? And we have not been given a guarantee that it would not. And they've asked a lot of good questions. We went back and forth. We've had staff that did a very good job of that. And I understand in some part why they would be unwilling to answer a question on a bill that has not passed yet. But again, a data bill does not endanger those funds, which is what this bill is now.
Chairman Hicks.
So just to be clear, Leader, what will be included in the report?
Leader Lambert.
So each in subsection 1B, each LEA and public charter school shall, for the 2026-27 school year and for each school thereafter, report to the Department of Education the number of students who are enrolled in the LEA or public charter school, produce documentation sufficient to establish the student meets one of the criteria above, which is citizen of the United States, process of obtaining citizenship, holds a valid legal immigration or visa status, or is subject to pending immigration proceedings in which a final removal has been issued. Fail or refuse to produce documentation, or produce documentation insufficient, and then produce documentation establishing the student meets one of the criteria above. So that is exactly what would be reported to us.
Chairman Hicks.
So it does not include the name of those students?
Leader Lambert.
Absolutely not. This is macro data, not individualized data.
Chairman Hicks.
So it does not include the address of those students?
Leader Lambert.
No, it would not.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Hicks. Next on my list, Representative Shaw, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Ms. Leader, you answered part of the questions I had. So it would not include the name and address, but do you know what would happen with that student if they were illegal at that point in time? Could they qualify to be legal? Could they do whatever they need? Can you comment on that?
Leader Lambert.
That would entirely be up to whatever federal law that they fall under in their hopefully attempt to become a legal citizen or guest in this country. I mean, this doesn't change any of that process or alter it in any way. Whatever they would be pursuing previous to this is what they could pursue after.
Representative Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. But to your knowledge, none of that would change. It would just be left up to whatever they've been doing to become legal or either have to be moved out. My final question is, would they be taken away without their families knowing about it if they were illegal?
Leader Lambert.
None of this bill would affect any of that whatsoever. Whatever processes that the federal government utilizes now would be utilized under this. I will say the vast majority of us voted in favor of a resolution just a few weeks ago, which does encourage and urge the federal government to make sure that there is a reasonable, reliable pathway to citizenship for folks that wish to come to this country. That's what I want to see. I think that's what most of us want to see. And I'm old enough to remember when that was a bipartisan idea. I mean, we want folks to come to this country legally and to be able to pursue education and jobs and freedom and enjoy what this country has to offer. But when someone comes illegally, it ruptures that process and makes it almost impossible for them to be able to thrive. But all of those processes would still operate exactly as they do now, or however the federal government would like them to operate, independent of this legislation.
Thank you. Thank you for your answer.
Thank you, Representative Shaw. Any further questions before we go out of session to hear from our guests? Okay. Without objection, we're going to go out of session. We do have several folks. If you will come and sit at the desk here. I have a Johnny Epstein, a Stephen Puckett, a Joanna Keohane. I'm going to butcher your name. I apologize. Keohane, and then Miss Catherine Bike from Knox County Board of Education. Each of you will have 3 minutes. We'll let each of you, as we did the previous guests, testify for 3 minutes apiece, and then stand ready for questions at the end of those testimonies. We will start with Mr. Johnny Epstein. Mr. Johnny Epstein, you're recognized. If you will, for the record, just state your name and your 3 minutes will begin.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Johnny Epstein. I am an immigration attorney here in Nashville. This bill would force thousands of school staff across Tennessee to act as local immigration judges. Immigration status does not neatly divide into lawful versus unlawful, or as the bill describes, in the process of obtaining citizenship or status. That's just not how it works. Current immigration law uses a spectrum of statuses with petitions and waivers and appeals. A child's immigration status can be a roller coaster due to waiting times, backlogs, court reversals, and executive memos. There is no checklist or form, no matter how well designed, that the state can create to make staff at schools able to evaluate this. That's just not how it works. For an example, many Venezuelans were granted TPS status in 2021, temporary protected status. Biden extended that in 2023. Extended it again in January 2025. Immediately when Trump came in February, he reversed those two under executive authority, which he can do. 9 months later, those reversals were paused by a Ninth Circuit decision, again, because people argued that it was outside of his authority. Today, the government is again appealing that Ninth Circuit pause. So think about this. There are Venezuelan kids in public schools who have gained, then lost, then regained, and possibly will lose again their TPS status. You're asking school staff to check this with a simple checklist as if it's a driver's license. That's not how it works. Another example, a child with a pending U visa, which are issued to kids who are victims of crimes, often are granted a special temporary legal status to be here while their visa is adjudicated. The federal government has a cap on the number of U visas that are issued every year. It's a low number, something like 8,000. For that reason, a kid can have that temporary weird limbo status for 15 years, okay? You're asking school staff to evaluate that. The form work that the kids get when they have pending U visa says cannot be used to demonstrate immigration status. You're asking school staff to evaluate that. A child who successfully obtained a green card, which is expiring, who pays the renewal fee, who resubmits on time, can be wrongfully identified as having expired status because USCIS, not the kid, USCIS has a backlog on green cards. So you're asking school staff to play judges. I don't care how well designed this form is and how much thought you put into it, it's not going to work. It's going to give you bad data, horrible data that cannot be used to make any thoughtful decisions. And I wish y'all would abandon this as soon as possible.
Thank you, Mr. Epstein. Perfectly timed. The second person on the list is Stephen Puckett. Stephen Puckett, state your name for the record. As soon as you state your name, your 3 minutes will begin.
All right. My name is Stephen Puckett. I reside in Harrisville, Tennessee. I speak for myself and myself only, but I'm sure there's probably other people that are going to support where I stand. I am speaking in opposition to this due to the fact that while the sponsor said there was an insignificant fiscal aspect, the reality is because, as the aforementioned, instability of legal status is going to create a situation where the schools are going to have to add staff. And on top of that, even though the data may very well be aggregate, it could actually lead to targeting of districts, as has been shown around the country, where data has been used to target districts, in some cases even voting data. That's particularly concerning. The other major issue with this is this bill is being amended, but the Senate bill has already passed and is not amended and has yet to be called back for an amendment, meaning that the fiscal note of the Senate bill is still active and live and is extremely expensive and problematic, not just with what the fiscal note said, but also in incarceration costs for students that don't get an education. And in that aspect, that's going to be a major issue. The best thing, if you can't vote this down, the best thing would be to send it to Tasser for a full review of the underlying problem of unstable immigration status so that we can know what to call on Congress to address, and more, as well as the problems with DHS targeting communities via data, so that we can get a situation where ultimately the studies of this have gotten to the ultimate core of this really needs a tax on the global corporations and major corporations because they are the drivers at the heart of it, especially those using horizontal shareholding to completely evade legal accountability for the importation of individuals into our country and the deliberate efforts to put them in an unstable legal status. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Puckett. Next on my list, if you will pronounce your name for me, Joanna. Thank you. You are recognized. Please state your name for the record, and your 3 minutes will begin.
My name is Johanna Cohen, and I'm from Robertson County. I'm a Republican, and I say that because I want you to know it isn't just people on the left who oppose this bill. Thomas Jefferson believed that public education was one of two principles that he considered essential to the continuance of Republican government. Abraham Lincoln said that every man may receive at least a moderate education appears to be an object of vital importance. According to the Tennessee State Constitution, the state of Tennessee recognizes the inherent value of education and encourages its support. The General Assembly shall provide for the maintenance, support, and eligibility standards of a system of free public schools. What you're doing goes against the ideal of the Republican Party has stood for, and it goes against the Tennessee State Constitution. Punishing children and not educating them does not make Tennessee safer. Being fiscally conservative does not mean not spending money. It means spending it wisely, and education is a wise use of money. Representatives, when you start arguing against educating children because of the cost, you set a precedent that leads down a slippery slope. Once the excuse of it is too expensive to educate a child is acceptable for one group of children, it can be made acceptable for others. And the person who sets the precedent does not determine how it is used in the future. In his State of the State speech, Governor Bill Lee spoke about the pioneer spirit. The pioneers were people who traveled to what would become Tennessee for a better life, to build a home and a family. But when the pioneers did it, they didn't need to spend thousands of dollars and wait years. These are people who have left everything they know behind to come to a country that purports to be the best. That is the pioneer spirit. But this bill isn't targeting the parents and adults with that pioneer spirit. This bill is targeting the innocent children. In Matthew 19:14, when Jesus said, "Suffer the children," he didn't mean to punish them. I think you may have misunderstood. As a tax-paying Tennessean, I want my money to go to educating children no matter who they are. You don't involve children and target children because of the actions of adults. In Tennessee, we pay sales tax. So the families that you're targeting pay the same tax that I do. They pay tax on their real estate if they own a home, just like I do. They pay the same tax. They're tax-paying Tennesseans as well. And leader, representatives, fellow Republicans, immigration used to be a bipartisan. That's true. But the Republican Party lost that claim when they voted against Lankford's immigration bill. Thank you.
For your testimony. And finally, Catherine Bike with Knox County. If you will, state your name for the record, and your 3 minutes begin.
Thank you. My name is Catherine Bike, and I live in Knox County, Tennessee. I'm against House Bill 793, and I ask that you are too. I come here as a mother, a community member, and a District 4 representative on the Knox County Board of Education. Though I was born in Central Florida, my mother's family is from Hawkins County, Tennessee, dating back to the early 1800s. It's where I attended Rogersville City School and Cherokee High School and graduated from there. My grandparents couldn't go to high school, however, because they needed to work on the farm and take care of their families. I come from a long line of hardworking people who made their way from Tennessee to Kentucky and eventually Cincinnati, searching out jobs and industry at the expense of seeking education. My mother was the first to graduate high school in 1971 of her family, though none of her siblings did. You might be able to see why I have a passion for education. While I represent District 4 on the Board of Education, I don't speak for the board as a whole, but I can tell you that we've passed a legislative priority for 2026 against initiatives like House Bill 793 that put more barriers in place for students than support them. Tennessee is a beautiful place to live, and I love it so much that I named my son Tennessee. He's in middle school and he plays soccer. One of his classes is Spanish, and on the soccer field, he's using and learning more Spanish from his teammates. It helps make his schoolwork relevant to a somewhat typical middle school boy, and I appreciate anything that helps school to be relevant to him. All children living in the state of Tennessee have a right to attend K through 12 public education and should have the opportunity to reach their full potential. School should be a place where all children can learn, make friends, and dream about their futures. I recently read a report on the fiscal cost of verifying student immigration status that estimated that the state of Tennessee will spend $55 million implementing this initiative. That means that Knox County will spend around $3.3 million. Where are we going to come up with this money? Is that our special education services that are going to be cut, reduced? Is that our student support department, our security budget? Where is it going to come from? We always make do, but don't make us do this. I urge you to vote no on this harmful bill. You cannot tell me for 1 second that it is due to our Black, Brown, Indigenous, and undocumented neighbors that hardworking people like my family have struggled. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions for our guest? Seeing none, we are going to go back into session. Thank you for your testimony today. Leader Lambert, you were recognized on House Bill 793. You were out of order. You were warned. You were warned before this committee began when you sat there. And you will the sergeant at arms please escort that young lady out the door? Thank you. No. I'm sorry, sir. You're more than happy to talk to me after, but you can sit down or be escorted out as well. No, we do not allow that. Thank you very much. Sit. Leader Lamberth, you are recognized on House Bill 793.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the vast majority of folks here that abide by the chairman's rules. And I'll meet with anybody who wants to come by the office, make an appointment. I'll listen to any and all concerns, just as these folks have shared their concerns. I disagree with some of them, but I'm more than happy to listen to it. But at the core of this is about data and information. That's it. And so I think that is important for us to have as we make our decisions.
Thank you, Leader Lamberth. First on my list is Speaker Zachary.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Question on the bill.
We do have a call to question on the bill. There's proper motion, proper second. We are going to vote. All those in favor of voting on House Bill 793, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it. We are on the board. All those in favor of House Bill 793 moving to full finance, please vote aye. I'm sorry, Madam Clerk, will you please open the board for a vote? All those in favor of House Bill 793, vote aye. All those opposed, vote no. Has everyone voted? Would anyone like to change their vote? Seeing none. Seeing none. House Bill 793 moves to full finance. Yeah. All right. We are going to take a 2-minute recess, and you will be asked to clear the room. Will the Sergeant at Arms please clear the room? We are back in session. We are at item number 6 on the calendar by Leader Camper, I'm sorry, House Bill 686. I do not see Leader Camper. I'm sorry. Without objection, House Bill 686 is rolled 2 weeks. Item number 7 on your calendar, I see before us, Chairman Bolso, you're recognized on the House Joint Resolution 28. You have a motion and second on the bill. Chairman Bolso, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, members of the committee. This is a proposed constitutional amendment to enshrine in our state constitution a right to medical freedom that our Tennessee appellate courts and the U.S. Supreme Courts have already recognized. If adopted, this amendment would place before the voters in 2020 the question of whether our Tennessee Constitution should include expressly a right to medical freedom. That's what the bill does, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman Bolso. Any questions for Chairman Bolso? Representative Parkinson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And what do we mean by a right to medical freedom? What is medical freedom? Because I honestly don't know.
Chairman Bolso.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It would be the right not to undergo an unwanted medical procedure.
Representative Parkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And can you give me an example of what that would be? Do we force people to undergo medical procedures? Give me an example of that.
Chairman Bolso.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, there are historical examples. I mean, the most famous one, I would say, is the Nancy Cruzan case, the Missouri case from 1990, where there was a question as to whether a feeding tube should be removed from her. Her parents wanted a feeding tube removed. The case went all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court, which ultimately decided that this was something that was predominantly a matter of state law, that the U.S. Constitution did not provide an obligation for the state to be able to do that.
Representative Parks.
Thank you for that. This is interesting. And if we were to pass, it would go to a vote. Is this a constitutional amendment? What are we doing? Why would it go to a vote before the people?
Chairman Bolso.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, as a proposed constitutional amendment, it would go before the voters at the next gubernatorial election, which in this case would be 2030, and the voters would decide whether to place in the Constitution this right of medical freedom, that is, this right not to be compelled by the state to undergo an unwanted medical procedure.
Representative Park.
And thank you for your indulgence, Mr. Chair. And if passed, then family members will be able to remove a tube from one of their other family members if they saw it necessary, or would people not have to get immunized, or if they didn't want to get immunized, and what would the outcome be?
Chairman Bolso.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Parkinson, it's difficult to predict because as you look at the language of the proposed amendment to the Constitution, it begins with the words, quote, absent due process of law, close quote. And one of the things that the U.S. Supreme Court has made crystal clear is that all of our rights that are in the Constitution are not absolute. They're conditioned upon due process of law. So if there were a case, for example, where the state required all citizens of Tennessee to be vaccinated against smallpox, and someone objected to being vaccinated against smallpox, if the case got to the Tennessee Supreme Court, the question would be, does the state have a compelling state interest in requiring all citizens to be vaccinated, and have they used the most narrow means possible to achieve that objective? That's what's called strict scrutiny analysis. So it's difficult to predict how any particular case would come out, but by putting medical freedom in the Constitution, it simply enshrines what our cases, both in Tennessee and at the U.S. Supreme Court level, have already held.
And just the last question, Mr. Chair, if you don't mind. Just the last question.
Parks.
Thank you for your patience, Mr. Chair. And why are we going the constitutional route versus just changing state law for this?
The principal reason is obviously because of the supremacy of the Constitution. I mean, when we have a Constitution such as our own that starts with a Declaration of Rights, individual rights are very important to Tennesseans. And so to the extent possible, we want our individual rights enshrined in the Constitution so that no legislature can ever take those away.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate
Thank you. Representative Gillespie, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and sponsor. Forgive me, I had to navigate my way to the restroom earlier, so I missed the opening part of this. But along the lines of my colleague from Shelby County, I just want to give you a hypothetical and stop me in my tracks if I'm way off base here. But used to work for a skilled nursing facility that had independent living through hospice and everything in between. And one of the policies that they have there and is backed by current state law is, if an employee is not well, they do not come into work. They are not allowed to come into work. If an employee does not get the flu shot, they are required to wear a mask at work the entire time they're there. Would things like that be changed if this were passed and put into our Constitution?
Chairman Bolsa.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I mean, the short answer is no. What this bill does is it simply takes what is already the law in Tennessee and puts it in the Constitution. And just by way of example, Representative Gillespie, in the Garcia case, one of our Tennessee Court of Appeals decision from 2002, the court held, quote, Tennessee clearly recognizes the right of a competent adult to bodily integrity and self-determination, and that a competent person can refuse medical treatment, close quote. That's already the law in Tennessee, and effectively, this language in the proposed constitutional amendment just enshrines that in the Constitution. So the law is not going to be changed. So however the situation you described would be adjudicated today would be the same as it would be adjudicated if this constitutional amendment were adopted.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to follow up, just to make sure I'm hearing you loud and clear. So if this passes and the voters, it's enshrined in the Constitution, and a situation at a workplace that I described happens, and that employer sues that organization for infringing on their constitutional rights to go to work and not have a shot, where does it go there?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It would not go very far because what you're describing is, I believe, a private employer. And obviously the rights that we're dealing with are rights that the state cannot take away. An employer obviously has got a right within the confines of the law to set whatever requirements the employer wants for employees to show up for work and dress codes and all kinds of other things. So if your question is dealing with a private employer, the short answer, this will not affect that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, the basis of how this organization makes those determinations is based off of current state law that allows them to terminate an employee for not wearing a mask, things like that. It's not a policy of the organization, but federal and state, both guidance and law. So my question is, if this is now in the Constitution and I get fired, is my defense not just changed?
Chairman Bolsa.
The short answer is no.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just for the members' discussion, as you know, this is a constitutional amendment, and we have a constitutional calendar. And so there will be ample discussion later. If you do have questions after this, it'll end up going on constitutional calendar. But I am going to maintain the list. Representative Shaw, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'll be very brief. I'm just trying to understand as other members now. I'm going to take you this route. I pastor a church. We have anywhere from 200 to sometimes 350 people at the church every Sunday. If there was an XYZ virus that said if you go near anybody, it's going to affect them and cause death, would this person with the XYZ virus have a right to refuse vaccination and come to church around these other 300 members on Sunday? Would they have that legal right if this constitutional amendment go into the law?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Very much like the question that Representative Parkinson asked, the answer, Representative Shaw, would be, it depends. Because once again, when you have a constitutional right, in this case, the right to control whatever medical procedures you undergo, all of those rights come with conditions. And the condition is that those rights can be taken away if due process is satisfied. And so in the hypothetical you're raising, if somehow the Tennessee General Assembly passed a law that required or prohibited the state from requiring vaccination against the XYZ virus, then the question would be, do the members of your congregation have a right not to be exposed to the person that perhaps has the XYZ virus? And the courts ultimately would decide whether the legislation that was adopted addressed what's called a compelling state interest. And if so, did it do so by the most narrow means possible? And if it did that, then the law would be upheld, even under current law, as well as under this proposed constitutional amendment.
And that is where I'm running into a problem in essence of time, and I want to be quick, but this person has a right under the Constitution to say, I don't want no vaccine, but I'm going to go and expose this to everybody else. And they got that right under the law based upon what you're telling me. And so I got a problem with that because I don't want to die because he wants to die. Thank you.
Chairman Bolton.
And thank you, Mr. Chairman. And once again, Representative Shaw, that's not what I'm telling you. I'm telling you that both the Tennessee Supreme Court and the U.S. Supreme Court has held that rights, including rights to medical freedom, are conditional. And a state can take away certain rights if they follow due process of law. For example, you have a right under the 14th Amendment not to be deprived of the right to life. But if you commit a capital crime, the state, many of them in the United States, can execute you. So in this particular case, the question is, with regard to your one person, can his right not to be vaccinated against XYZ virus be taken away? The short answer is yes, if the law that the legislature passed that allowed him not to be vaccinated were found to survive this thing called the strict scrutiny test.
Thank you, Chairman Bolton. Next on my list, Representative Kaplan. Question, unfortunately, we're not voting on this bill. This bill has been considered 3 times. Normally, it would be going to the constitutional calendar, but it will go to the special calendar, which happens at the same times as the constitutional calendar. So without objection, the House Joint Resolution 28 will go on the special calendar to be published with the final calendar, and consequently constitutional. Thank you. Without objection. Item number 8 on your calendar today, House Bill 1886 by Chairman Subcommittee. We have a motion and second on the bill. Chairman Subcommittee, you have an amendment that you filed with the committee, drafting code 014008. Is that correct? Yes, sir. We have a motion and second on the amendment. For the purpose of discussion, we're going to put that amendment on. All those in favor of amendment drafting code 014008, please say aye. All those opposed, vote no. The ayes have it. Amendment drafting code 014008 is on the bill. You are recognized, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What this bill does, and it's here because of steps that we've taken in education that has led us to this point with you. We have just passed a bill in subcommittee we agree that there has to be technology in the classroom, but we have to put limitations on what kids can access and using it for instructional purposes. There's a bill that our chairman here today, Chairman Williams, has about coercive artificial intelligence and affecting individuals, especially how AI is going after our children via the internet. There is the Meta lawsuit that our Attorney General is involved in with Meta not putting enough restrictions and guardrails on internet access. And then we have Senator Blackburn has got a bill that passed in the Senate, 91-3, Kids Online Safety Act. And our House won't even take it up in Washington. This has become something very prevalent in our society, in our schools, we've got to figure out a way to protect our students better because of the term, and we've all heard it, artificial intelligence. It is seeking out our children and targeting them. So what this bill does is it revises our internet acceptable use policy requirements for local education agencies and expands the requirements to apply to public charter schools. It requires each LEA and public charter school to review its policy at least twice a year and update as needed. Allows the LEA, now this is very important here because this part of this bill was the amendment we just passed, was brought to me by technology people and superintendents. It allows our LEAs and public charter schools to collaborate with each other when developing such a policy. So our bigger districts that have more assets and to enact this can partner with our smaller districts, sharing information on how to get this online as quick as we can. The other request we got from the technology and the superintendents was the original bill had this going into effect in the 26-27 school year, which we were told was an impossibility. In the amendment you just passed or put on the bill, it now has moved that to the 27-28 school year, giving them an extra year to collaborate with each other to come up with these policies on how we're going to protect the internet usage and access of our students. It also expands requirements for providers of digital and online instructional material to apply to materials marketed for pre-K through 12th grade and to contracts with public charter schools, and requires providers to block access through the provided materials to certain content that they decide. Requires public charter schools, in addition to LEAs and state agencies that contract with a third party for the provision of such materials, to establish a process for a person to file a complaint with the entity that is alleged to be using prohibited material. And lastly, it authorizes the public charter schools and LEAs to create email addresses for students in pre-K through 5 for identification purposes only. There are districts that are giving email addresses to kindergartners that are active. And what you're going to hear in your testimony today from the parent that brought this to me is those are being used for bullying and the dissemination of other material. This prohibits an LEA from opening up those emails. It allows them to assign an email for identification purposes, but they are inactive until 6th grade.
Chairman Spiggy,
I'll be brief right now.
Yes, thank you.
That's what the bill does.
Congratulations. You do get the award for being the first person to use all 5 minutes of their opening on the bill and finance sub. But you do have, as you did say, we do have someone that's come here to testify. So without objection, we're going to go out of session and hear from Ms. L. Benson. So Ms. L. Benson, if you will, just grab a seat, pull the mic to yourself, and then if you will, state your name for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Yes, thank you. L. Benson, Chairman, members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. I'm here as a concerned parent of a public school student asking for your help. I want to recognize the leadership shown already on this issue. The bill passed unanimously in Education Administration Subcommittee and 19-1 in House Education. This kind of bipartisan support shows that this is something important. Protecting children online is not partisan, it's practical and it's urgent. Last spring, I received a call from another parent that no parent wants to receive. Her child was experiencing anxiety and sleep issues based on what my child was accessing at school. Alarmed and confused, I checked her internet browser and found that my daughter had also accessed inappropriate content. With over the month, she had accessed videos titled "Scariest Video on the Internet," "You'll Never Sleep Again," "Zombies Eat Babies," murder and horror content. She's 8 years old at school on a school device on school time. This may explain her anxiety and sleep issues as well. I connected with our school principal and connected to the district technology, and they deemed that the content was appropriate. That moment changed everything for me. Imagine that your child was harmed at school and told that they had done everything they could to protect them. What followed were months of advocacy and listening to other parents. What I heard was deeply troubling, and I'm not alone in these issues. Elementary school students receiving emails from outside adults. Bullying happening on school emails. A 3rd grader at my daughter's school was sent nude photos in her email and solicited for photos in return. We're talking children as young as 5 years old. In our previous testimonies, we were joined by Dr. Gupta, a pediatrician and expert in online child safety, who shared the alarming data on a rising harm that children here in Tennessee are experiencing. A local clinical psychologist, Dr. Jagger, shared about 2 students she's currently treating, 8 years old and 12 years old, both victims of online predatory and sexual harm, accessed on school devices. We also were supported in testimony by Deborah Taylor Tate, former FCC commissioner and former director of the Administrative Office of the Courts. She reinforced that stronger guardrails are both feasible and necessary. These are not abstract statistics. These are our children in every county of Tennessee. The Children's Internet Protection Act hasn't been updated in 12 years. Think of where our technology has gone since then. The state sets academic standards. We determine curriculum. We identify what's safe and appropriate in library materials, and we decide where our resources are spent to educate and protect our children. It's time we do the same for the internet. These children are required to use devices. They need to be safe. This legislation supports other legislation being proposed, and this bill really will protect our children, and I'm asking you to make the responsible decision and protect our children, both in physical classrooms and online.
Thank you, Ms. Benson, for your testimony. Thank you for your hard work and advocacy for your own children and others across the state. Do we have any questions for Ms. Benson? I see none. Thank you for your testimony today. We will go back into session. We are back on the bill, House Bill 1886. Chairman Subcommittee, you are recognized.
Mr. Chairman, I renew my motion for you.
With this bill will be placed behind the budget because it does have a fiscal impact. So without objection, House Bill 1886 will go behind the budget.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee.
Next on your calendar, item number 9, House Bill 1676 by Chairman Eldridge. We have a motion second on the bill. Chairman Eldridge, I have a amendment that you and I discussed.
That is correct.
That has been filed with the committee.
That
It's
is correct,
drafting
Chairman.
code 14683. Chairman Hicks should probably be saying all this, so I'll recognize Chairman Hicks.
Thank you, Chairman. Members, we are again on item number 9, House Bill 1676 by Chairman Eldridge. We do have an untimely filed amendment, and that drafting code is 014683 by Chairman Williams, which we will consider if there are no objections. Hearing none, we're on the bill. We have a motion second on the amendment.
Motion.
We have a motion, a second on the amendment. Chairman Williams, would you like to describe your amendment?
Yes, Chairman Hicks. Thanks to Chairman Eldridge and our crack legal staff here, there was a little bit concerned that possibly one community could not pass a resolution and therefore be inadvertently included in this rail authority. What this language does is simply cleans that up. Everyone would have to want to be in this phenomenal group of rail authority in order for all of them to be in. And so that's what this amendment does.
All right, thank you. Members, you've heard the description of the amendment. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on amendment 014683 on to House Bill 1676. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes do have it. We're back on the bill as amended.
Is there any discussion on the bill as amended? Seeing none, we are going to vote. Madam Clerk, will you please open the board for a vote? Those in favor of House Bill 1676 moving to full finance, please vote aye. Those opposed, vote no. Has everyone voted? Would anyone like to change their vote? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, will you please take the vote?
Mr. Chairman, you have 10 ayes, 0 noes.
The ayes do have it. House Bill 1676 goes to full finance.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for the
Thank you
help
for
with
your
the committee.
patience.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Next on our calendar, waiting patiently, item number 10, House Bill 1765 by Chairman Littleton. Chairman Littleton, you are recognized on House Bill 1765. We have one. Thank you. You're recognized on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill enhances from a Class A misdemeanor to a Class C felony the penalty for knowingly violating a lifetime order of protection when the conviction of which the lifetime order of protection was due to an offense involving the use of force against a victim. I'm going to be trying to be real quick. I usually just read that, but I think we need to remember that we do have a lady that works here that had a stalker that followed her and her husband and knocked her husband down and killed him in front of her. And while he was in prison, he's still sending her letters. So we had to go in and try and stop that. But when he is out, what is going to happen is the question. I know it's a big fiscal note, which tells us what a problem that we have.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
there.
Thank you, Chairman Littleton. Thank you for your advocacy for victims. Any questions for Chairman Littleton? Seeing none. as you stated, this bill does have a small physical impact. So with that, we're going to be putting it behind the budget. House Bill 1765 without objection goes behind the budget. Next on the
Thank you.
calendar, item number 11, Chairman Martin. I see Chairman Martin at the back. House Bill 484. We have a motion and second. We do have an amendment, drafting code 013342.
That is
We have a
correct.
motion and second on the amendment. Would you like to describe the amendment really quick,
I
Chairman?
can, just real quick. What this bill does is ensure that biomarker testing is covered when ordered by a provider for purposes of diagnosis, treatment, appropriate management, and ongoing monitoring of a patient. All state regulated plans would be included. And with that, I stay ready for question.
Thank you, Chairman Martin. Any questions for Chairman Martin? We're going to be voting on the amendment. All those in favor? All those in favor of the amendment drafting code 013342, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The amendment goes on the bill. Any discussion on the bill as amended? Seeing none. This bill does have a fiscal impact though, so without objection, House Bill 484 will go behind the budget. Leader Camper, your office asked us to roll your bill 2 weeks, so we rolled it 2 weeks previous today, but we love having you in the committee today. Yes, in order to get to Chairman Vaughn, I see him over there. Since he's been waiting patiently though, we are going to go to item number 15 by Chairman Vaughn. Chairman Vaughn, you were recognized on House Bill 1933. We do have a motion and a second. We do have an amendment drafting code 014312. Is that correct?
Jackpot.
Yes, we have a motion and second on the amendment. We are going to put that amendment on. All those in favor of amendment drafting code 014312, say aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it. Amendment drafting code 014321 goes on the bill. Drafting code 014312 is on the bill. Chairman Vaughn, you are recognized on House Bill 1933.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What this bill requests is a TASER study to prepare a report on pay equity for the Assistant District Attorneys Generals across the state.
Thank you, Chairman. This is any questions for the Chairman? Representative Gillespie, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just want to clarify, this would examine the disparity between state ADAs and local ADAs?
Chairman Vaughn.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is a TASER bill, and so all the TASER bills, as the members may know, we create a TASER calendar, and then we consider them at later date. So without objection, House Bill 1933 moves the TASER calendar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I just want to say thank you for your service on TASER.
Yes, I love it. I will say Chairman Hicks and Representative Parkinson, who's always tardy for that meeting in this one. Really appreciate the opportunity, sir. Thank you, Chairman Vaughn. All bills that are in this committee that have not been considered be rolled to next week. And so without objection, we will adjourn. I will take a minute since I still have the microphone. Standing back here waiting patiently is a gentleman from my district, Charles Wittenberg with Tennessee Associate. He acts like I'm not there. Charles Wittenberg with the Tennessee Association of Property Surveyors. Great friend of mine, does great work in the Upper Common. Charles, thanks for coming today. Yeah.